Good morning. Welcome to church. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you so much for being with me. I absolutely appreciate it. You can get involved. Whatever your questions or comments are, just go on the chat line, YouTube, and I can respond. And good morning, everybody. Good morning. Again. How is everyone? Good. That's something else. I'm glad you're here. Before I get to your questions and comments, I have two questions I want to ask. Because I've been thinking about this, and I've heard it a lot. And so I thought I better find out what does that mean, because I really don't know. Number one is I want to know, anyone here ever does critical thinking? Do you ever do critical thinking? Oh, good. 2 people. Nobody else? No wonder we're losing. 3. Can I get a 4? 4, 5. How come you guys held your hand down before?
What you meant exactly.
Critical thinking. I don't know what it means. That's what I'm going to ask. Critical thinking. And so 6. He does it once in a while. Okay. And the rest of you don't do it, right? That's the only thing you do. Oh, okay. Let me. The same with you?
Too much of it.
Critical, too much of it. Okay. Yeah. What is critical? Tell me how you do critical thinking, the process.
The teacher that I had for high school, it was being able to apply truth to like any ideas and be able to like think about or play with these ideas, but in the boundary of what is truth and always coming back to like a God center with it.
Are you able to give me an example? And I know sometimes you might not have one right at hand. Can you give me an example of that?
So it has to, well, truth is what corresponds with reality. It still has to be true to the reality. And when God is truth, you know, everything has to fall back to that line no matter what. So I'm not sure what kind of example to use for that right now.
Right. Well, hopefully someone will be able to give me an example. You say you do critical thinking at times? Mm-hmm. And tell me what is it. Explain that to me. Give me an example.
Critical thinking, I think, is mindful, being mindful about what you are thinking of, and so that you can form a judgment about it. That would, to me, would be critical thinking. To be able to gather go through a process in your mind, being mindful, and then being able to form a judgment about it.
Okay. Are you able to give me an example of it?
No, I don't have one that comes to mind right now, but.
Okay. No. Yes, sir. And you are a critical thinker at times, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Give me an example of critical thinking.
So somebody comes up to you, they've got their opinion about another person, they're doing a little bit of gossiping. And so critical thinking is like, now wait a minute, do I really agree with this? Should I be piling on here, or can I stop this right now? Can I say something different about that person? Can I say something encouraging about that other person instead of gossip or something negative?
And that's critical thinking?
I would think, critical thinking in general, I think of the verse in the Bible, I might have it right, like Romans 12:2, somewhere around there that says, be not conformed to this world.
So if you and I were friends, and Doug was our third friend, but he wasn't around. And I came over and I said, Doug stole my money. I can't believe it. And so while I'm saying this to you, you're critically thinking about that, right? Like, how should I respond to Jesse? Am I right about that?
Right.
And so what would be your response? I mean, it's not happening, but what would you probably would say?
Probably, are you sure about that? I mean, can you really be sure?
And I would say, well, I'm not sure. I just know when he left, the money left too.
Is it possible that you didn't have the money on you? Sometimes I leave money at home and think I've got it on me. Then later I go home after thinking I've lost it, and there it is.
Oh, and that's critical thinking.
Yeah, just to stop
Oh, okay.
and see what's really going on instead of going along with the masses.
That is so interesting. I have people calling my radio show who don't like me, and they say they do. They are critical thinkers, and I never really asked what is that. So, and you're a critical thinker too, right? Wow, a lot of them. And tell me what it is. Do you agree with what's been said so far?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I think you can't be a critical thinker if you already know the outcome of something.
You cannot be.
No. Say
So-
if you are a liberal, you can't have a discussion and where you're going to come to a different conclusion if you already have your mind made up. There's no critical thinking because you can't afford for something not to be right because it's already right in your mind.
So if I came to you and said, Doug stole my money, and when he left, the money left, and I know he's going to jail because I'm going to have him arrested, and at that point you can't think about that because my mind is already made up.
Well, the person you're asking, if I say, you know what, I already have an opinion about Doug and I agree,
Right.
I would agree with you, or I'd say, you know what, maybe you're wrong.
You would?
I think if you have to agree with other people, you can't be a critical thinker.
Oh, so would you disagree with me because you know him, and you would say maybe I'm wrong?
You know what? It has to be the situation. It has to be, I wouldn't just say, yes, you're right, just because I agree with you.
Right.
Because that could be dangerous too. It's like,
That's
you have a
right.
lot of followers, somebody's just going to say, oh, you're right, and not think about
Because
something
I could
else.
be wrong.
Yeah.
Interesting. No wonder. Brenda, you agree with what you heard in your critical thinking?
Yes, I think, to me, the key to critical thinking is putting any bias that you have aside, bias positive or negative, and trying to look at the facts and say, is there enough information here for me to make a decision about something, and not to just knee-jerk into an opinion about something because in the past that's been right or it gels with your other ideas. It's like critical thinking is really balancing the evidence that you have.
And who came up with the idea of critical thinking? Where did that come from? Do you know?
I have no idea.
It was just been around all the
It's
time?
been around a long time.
Oh, okay. And you say you do it all the time, right?
And she just repeated everything I wanted to say. Decisions you make or a thought opinion you have about something, you want to make sure it's not biased or it's not based off of fear or anger. Or
Okay.
So I might just sit there and just think about why do I feel this way or why do I want to take this step? Am I being biased? And it's like, to me, critical thinking is like looking at it like the every corner possible.
Looking at the whole picture and analyzing it.
Because I have made a mistake where I look back, I'm like, I did this because I'm driven by this emotion.
Oh.
So the next time I'm facing a decision to make, I have to go and analyze myself to see, do I have any emotional connection based on this decision? Am I driven by fear? Am I driven by anger? Am I driven by something?
And so does it normally turn out well for you when you critical think it out? If I can
No,
say that.
no,
that
but
way.
it does give me it does at least
It doesn't
stop-
work?
The ones that work, it doesn't come from critical thinking. But when I start thinking critically, at least it stops me from taking action where I can just,
So why do it then if it doesn't work?
No, it stops me from taking action, which sometimes,
Oh, critical thinking stop you from taking action.
yeah.
But when you don't think about it, then you mess up.
No, not all the time. It's like I have to do it, and then the results I see later, whether it was a mess up or a right decision.
Oh, I see.
So whether I made the right decision or wrong decision, critical thinking wasn't involved in it. But critical thinking kind of puts a brakes on me
Who
taking
taught
action.
you to do that?
I remember English classes we used to take, they used to make us write essays.
Mm-hmm.
So they would use that word critical thinking, that's where I learned from.
Oh.
Where, gather facts, be objective about what you're going to write. So it does become a habit where you think critically, am I being objective? You know, like I mentioned before, am I driven by emotion, by thinking this way or feeling this way? So
Do you get a headache from that?
the headache don't go away. The headache is over there.
That's amazing. And my second question is, there's this thing now where a lot of people are saying, don't put labels on me. You've heard that before, right? Nobody ever heard that? You heard it? When I interview people, I ask, are you a liberal or conservative? I'm not into labels. Don't put a label on me. Or there's this thing I saw on TV, a whole advertisement about don't put labels on me. If I'm black, don't call me black. Don't call me this. Don't call me a woman. Don't call me, just leave me, just look at me, I guess. Are people in here, anybody here into not labeling yourself with anything? Don't put a label on you about anything. Nobody? So I can label everyone here right now. Okay. Oh, good. Now that I hear more about critical thinking, I think that's a made-up, deceptive word. And I think that anyone who does it will be misguided. And the reason and I could be wrong, so yell at me if I'm wrong. Really, I want to know. I really want to know. Okay, you want to yell at me already?
I'd like to.
Go ahead. You a critical thinker?
At times, if I'm lucky,
If you're lucky. So is that a yes or no?
At times, yes.
So you a critical thinker, right? And
Sometimes.
Like what, for an example?
Well, I have a business. I have, first of all, I'll tell you what I think it is. NASA, before they had computers, had to figure everything out mathematically to figure out the direction of their flight of their aircraft and of their spaceships.
Right.
And they actually had to use mathematics and the science that he understood to predict where they're going to go and where they're going to be.
That's an example of critical thinking.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And if they're
that does make sense.
If they're off or if they're in the wrong place, they can die.
Oh, okay. And so are you a NASA person?
In a way, I am now. I work in a test lab.
How does critical thinking apply to your life? When you're doing it, how do you do it?
At work, I have to put projects together and items together, and there are scientists that put these boxes in. They want to find out when is this thing going to break. So they use their mathematics to put the layers of material on.
But because of time, just tell me about you.
Oh.
Where do you come in? You have to figure out where to set the box.
Yeah. Okay. That's the way that I do it at work. At home, I have a very simple thing: a front lawn. I want zero maintenance lawn. How do I make this yard zero maintenance? What do I need to do? What is it going to cost?
So you have to really think about that.
Analyze it. I can't go with what I want. I'd like to have this tree here. No, I need to. If I want a zero maintenance at a reasonable cost, I have to figure out what the materials are, how much it would cost to do. It has to be all logical and reasonable. It has to be common sense. It can't be my emotions.
How come Mexicans like to take the grass up and put down rocks?
White people are doing it now.
White people don't do that. They're doing it now? They got it from the Mexicans?
Mexicans are doing it.
If water is scarce.
Oh, that's why. But the Mexicans are doing it even when the water is everywhere.
Well, they came from a place where water was scarce.
Oh, that's why they did.
They learned to like that aesthetic, and now other people are saying, it's not a bad aesthetic. Hey, you don't have to have green grass in your front yard.
Oh, okay. I got it. All right, so everybody agree with him. That's a good example of critical thinking? Yeah? No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You don't, James? No. That's not a good example? Do you do it, James? James is my radio producer. I need to know this. Do you do it?
Yeah, I sometimes think I do it anyway, yes.
No wonder you don't get anything done. You're too busy thinking.
Right.
And how do you do it?
I don't know how I do it, because I've thought about that, because a lot of people who are wrong call themselves critical thinkers. And they tell me to think for myself, and I tell them to think for themselves. And how do you go about thinking for yourself?
Right.
So I don't really know exactly how to critically think. I do have comments from the chat.
All right, let me have it.
Okay, G says,
Is G still in Mexico?
yeah,
He need to figure out how to get back to the States.
he'll be back. He says, I don't do any thinking because I'm so dumb. I used to think in my head about things, but I got tired of talking to the devil. And he doesn't agree with critical thinking because if you are having conversations in your head about anything, you are talking to the devil.
How many people agree with that? Oh, good. Get the mic to the guy behind you. Why do you agree with that?
Because majority of the time, my thoughts have misguided me.
Yeah.
And depending on how you are feeling emotionally, your thoughts will change.
That's right. Like he want to put he want to put the bricks in the yard, right?
Right.
So he'll think it all out, and then he put all these bricks down, and then once it's done, critical thinking will kick in again. You're like,
Someone says
this
it looks
awful.
ugly, and then that
Yeah.
changes the whole way.
Yes, absolutely. So be careful, man.
I take samples.
I don't think we should be doing critical thinking. I think if you're conscious, if you're present with God at all times, then all things will be made clear to you. It's not, you won't have to think it through or think about it. And then whenever you do it, it always turns out right. There's no second thoughts about it at all. And critical thinkers sound like people who are not conscious of God. They're not centered. And so they're trying to figure out things in their head. And as the young man said, and G said, every thought you get is a lie. Everything you think you want, you don't. Everything you think you don't want, you do. So everything is all confused. And so if nothing in your mind is the truth, how can you think through things with that, with those thoughts? That's why God said, bring every thought into captivity. Every thought. Because every thought is a lie. It builds you up to let you down to build you up. It tells you what seems to be the truth in order to tell you a lie. It tells you you want this, but you really don't. It tells you you don't want it, but you really do. Because every thought is from the deceiver. And our battle is a spiritual battle at all times. And we're fighting, good is fighting evil. Evil is trying to defeat, and good is trying to defeat. So the moment you believe anything in your thoughts, you have now become one with the lie. And Satan is your father. If you could just stay present where God is, he said, come into my presence. If you could just stay present, all things would be revealed to you. And you won't have to get a headache and worry about trying to. God doesn't want us to try to figure things out. He wants us to know. And the only way we're going to know is by knowing him and being one with him. We have to become one with him. You can't figure it out because no one knows the mind of God. Even Satan doesn't know. So while you're in your head trying to figure out things, you're communicating with your father, the deceiver, and he's going to deceive you about all things. So I think critical thinking, even with the example that Francisco gave about the folks at his job, if they didn't get into critical thinking, they would see what to do anyway, because that's their talent. That's what God has given them to do, and it'll be easier to see how to do it rather than trying to figure it out. Because folks who are always thinking about things, you can't live around those people. They are not like happy people to be around. Now, I could be wrong, totally disagree, I don't mind, that's why we're fellowshipping. But I just think you need to practice being present with God in all things. Not your job, your relationships, everything. Even when you're cooking, because you're learning how to cook, right? And burning everything.
You'll see in a little bit.
No, I'm kidding. And so even in cooking, if you stay present and not lost in your head about, oh my God, what's going to happen? How am I going to do this? You won't mess it up. It'll work out. It will always work out if you do it in the presence of God. There are two ways of living, either in the light or in the darkness. You're not on your own. There is no gray area. You're either of the light or of the darkness. And that's the truth. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro says it really well. He says certain words do not need a modifier, like social justice. It's either just or it's not.
Right.
Okay? Democratic socialism? No, it's socialism. Critical thinking? It's just thinking.
Yeah.
It's nothing else.
I think the enemies of good have made up all these words, and they sound nice. You know, who doesn't want to be a critical thinker? Everybody wants, because when you say I'm a critical thinker, doesn't that sound like you're smart? and you know, you think things through. And like G admitted that he's dumb. We don't like G. Who want to be around a dummy? You want a critical thinker because it sounds smart. Yes, sir.
In the Bible, Adam failed because he didn't think critically. Critical thinking, and God reprimanded him for that. Critical thinking is, from what I come to learn what it is just not buying the surface logic. Like there's surface logic to everything, you know, whether or not to raise taxes, whether or not homosexual marriage is good. And you'll hear the surface logic, you know, the cliches or whatever.
Are you a critical thinker?
Yes.
Okay.
And so critical thinking is just going a little deeper and finding out what's really below the surface logic that you're presented. Like the surface logic that was presented to Adam, you'll live forever, you'll be a god, you'll be like God and all that stuff. And he did not go to the source, you know, and figure out, hey, ask God his side of the story. You know, he already got the command from him, but God asked him, why didn't you come to me when you were presented with this? You know, and I would have helped you to see deeper into what's going on.
Oh, okay. How many people agree with that?
Pretty much.
That sounds so good, huh? The rest of you don't agree with it?
No.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. You don't know? You say I don't know?
I have to critically think about this.
Okay. Yes, yeah.
So one of the problems with thought is that it helps to turn the microphone on. Thought can go on and on and on and on. You can get into it so deep,
Yeah.
but thought is a tool. It's very easy to make a false conclusion. Jesse is black. Jesse has cool shoes. Black people, therefore, like cool shoes.
That's right.
It's very logical.
That's critical.
But it makes no. It's critical to have good shoes, but it makes no sense. And separating thought from fact, right, is one of the things that happens. If you study philosophy, and I've studied it a little bit. Thank God I didn't get into it too deep.
Right.
People start getting into the meaning of reality and what is mind. What is mind? Books are written on what mind is. People have concluded that mind doesn't exist. And yet, if you ask everybody here what they do critical thinking with, they'll say it's their mind.
Yeah.
And so thought leads you ultimately to despair if you keep following it. But life itself requires us to be sensible, make sense, have common sense. The thing that's interesting is there's a lot of people with common sense that have no huge education. And I've always found that to be the case. People will come up with a conclusion that's correct. They don't think of themselves as critical thinkers, and they
Yeah.
certainly never took any class in logic.
Did you agree with what he said about Adam?
No.
Had Adam done critical
No.
thinking,
No.
he would have. You don't agree with that?
No, I don't.
Why
But,
not?
but I don't know the Bible as well as he does. So,
Oh, okay.
but
so
I,
why do you disagree then? He's
because-
the Bible go-to guy.
No, yeah, but I haven't read it enough to know exactly. I mean, did he go
But
to the
it just
source?
sound wrong or something?
I just didn't like the way he put it.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, I didn't agree with it. I didn't
You didn't
agree with
like
the way
it?
he put it. Right,
Oh, okay.
right. I can't
Anybody
imagine
agree-
Adam being a critical thinker. I mean, dude. I mean, if I were to meet him again, I'd slap him around and say, "Dude, come on, common sense, not critical think." I would
Yeah.
say, You need to engage in critical thinking.
So, so anybody agree with what he said about Adam? Oh, you're on your own, man. You do? Why do you agree with that?
Because what I find is that when I start out with a problem that I'm trying to solve, make a decision, I start thinking about it, and I am affected by other people's thoughts or what's commonly thought or whatever, and I'll try to balance out something that I want to do. And then I will realize that I haven't asked God what to do, and I will pray about it. And I will inevitably have a true answer come to me once I go to God. And that's what I think he said is, if you'd come to me, I would have helped you. And that's what I find happens is I'll have it all worked out in my head that A is the answer. And then I'll pray about it. And I hadn't even thought about C, and C shows up. And
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, where'd C come from? Well, that's the answer.
This is so interesting. This is like a real discussion we're having. Yeah, hold on for the mic. Hold on.
So we were saying.
This is Dylan, and Dylan is our new intern.
So we were saying.
For James, the producer, radio producer.
So we were saying, be careful of listening to the voices in your head, because a lot of times it's the devil and voices you don't want to be listening to.
Not a lot of time, all the time.
Okay, so when you find out, she prays, right, for the answer, and then how does she know when she finds the right answer, or the right answer comes to her, that isn't one of those voices that she shouldn't be listening to?
Well, if it's yeah, it sure is. If it coming to her in her head, she shouldn't listen to it, because you can pray for something and Satan can answer for you.
Of course it's going to be in your head, because unless it's like a blatant miracle, like an Old Testament style miracle, it's going to be something probably that you make the assumption like, oh, that probably means this. I mean, it's all in your head. So how do you know that's not being misguided?
By knowing that everything in your head is a lie. That's why God said, bring every thought into captivity, meaning don't believe either. All of them are lies.
But then how would she know when she finds the right answer?
It would be revealed to her. She would get revelation, not a voice.
I know, but how did she know that that's not like a trick or some, fake revelation?
The trick is, if she knows that the trick is in the head, then revelation is made clear to her. God revealed and Satan taught.
How do you know which is which?
Because once you return back to God, you recognize his voice, you start to remember his voice, and you should know him by his voice. So you know when the Satan is talking to you, and you know when Revelation is talking to you, which is the voice of God. You know them by their voices. Okay. That's a very good point, though. I wanted to say something, and it's leaving me. I need to dig down and do some critical thinking here. Oh. I want to he just answered the question about what he said about Adam. And what did you say about it? He said it without saying it on the mic.
First, let me say, like, when I said,
Lord.
Never mind. Okay, then.
No, go ahead.
Adam would have been saved by just obedience, had he not,
Yeah, Adam didn't fall because he didn't do critical thinking. Adam fell because he disobeyed. That's good. He disobeyed his father.
What I wanted to say.
And then as a result of that, everything else came about. But he disobeyed, just like when we disobey the mind of God. Look what happens to us. When we don't follow his mind, we follow the devil's mind. Then we get into critical thinking. Uh-huh. That's
Like
the Bible go-to guy.
When you ask, like,
I have a response.
when you ask, like, who thinks critically, I saw it as who's at fault. So when I raise my hand, I see it as a bad thing, because it always feels like a spider web when you're critically
Yeah, because
thinking.
the moment you get into thoughts, you find yourself going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Then you find yourself in a ditch. You wonder what happened here, And then you've thought it through, but it's all wrong. Now you're trying to think your way out of it. How do I get out of it? Now you're trying to do critical thinking to get out of it. But when you have the mind of God, there is no thinking. It's all revealed to you at all times. And just for your, you can keep doing it, but when you are conscious, when you have the mind of God, you're in the present with Him, you don't have to pray to God, oh Lord, please help me with this or give me that, because you're already with Him and He's always helping you at all times. So you don't even have to ask, and that way you don't have to be confused if it's from God or Satan, because God never leaves us. He's with us at all times. We have the light, we have the Holy Spirit. It's just that people are not aware enough to live in the present with Him. And you don't have to, He's your Father. You don't have to pray to Him. He already knows what you want. He's going to always give you what's good for you. You never have to worry. You just need to be His child, His son or daughter. He just wants you to become a living being, return back home, become one with Him, and be His son or daughter. And the truth is already in us because we have the Holy Spirit. He teaches us all things. It's written in our heart. So He really just wants, it's like being born of a parent for the first time. You don't ask your parents for anything. And they just see to take care of you. And God is better than they are. And so we have to just return to Him and live with the Father. That makes sense, Brenda? Yeah, because when you're asking, she said it down. When you're asking for something, it's almost like you don't trust, where it is light, you don't trust that the Father is going to give it to you. You got to ask for it. And this world is built for us, even though Satan took over. He created all things for His children. He really did, but you got to become His son or daughter. Yes, ma'am. I can't believe we're having a whole conversation about this. This is so good.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on what you're saying. So basically, if we're having any thought about it, that would be considered critically thinking about it?
It sounds like it, yes.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like it goes deeper than that, any thought, but the moment you start thinking on it, you're trying to analyze it yourself.
Because if it was from God, it would just be...
There's no thought about it at all.
Okay.
Because He is the light. He allows you to see. People who have to think on it cannot see. That's why you got to think on it, because you're in the darkness trying to figure it out. What? This makes sense? It does? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think we could rename critical thinking super thinking, because they're like, no, sometimes I don't think because I know thoughts are bad, but I super think and I can make this lawn, or I can go to NASA, or I can do this math. It's all thinking. It's like we don't want to let go of it, right? So I'm okay with saying I had a thought, bring all my thoughts into captivity. I know it's not good, but when you challenge my accomplishments or what I've done, now I take it personally because I want to own that.
Yeah.
Because it belongs to me.
That's a very
I
good
did
point.
it. Okay, it wasn't God, it was
all
me.
ego.
Yeah.
And the ego must die. In order to live the way I'm telling you, the ego has to die. The not you must die. In order to be born again, you must die. You have once to die and once to live. So you must die. And you got to let yourself die. The ego, the not you, the thing that's made a home inside of you must die. You have to let it die. Yes, James.
Maria asks, how do you not go crazy with the thoughts constantly going on in your head?
But you do go crazy. You can't help it. That's why people on medication, alcoholics, drug addicts, because the thoughts have driven them crazy. And rather than the world telling you, you need to be still and know God so you can see not to listen to that madness, they say, here's a pill. Here's this. Here's that. They give you the stuff from their father, which only makes you worse. But I would tell you, if you're into your head like that and going nuts, calm down. Be still, so that you can be separated from the mind of Satan and come into the mind of God. Because Satan will drive you nuts. He really will. The more he can get a hold of you, the more he's going to control you. He can make you think about, when I used to date, if I came home a little late, and I apologize, I used to live with a woman, I wasn't married, I was wrong. I don't do that anymore. All right? So if I come home a little late, that sounds like a song, huh? Who seen that? If I come home a little early.
You don't know me by now, that was a...
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Bible go-to guy. No wonder you thought Adam was critically thinking.
Actually, he was.
So if I come home a little late, right? I've never done anything wrong, not one time, all right? But if I come home a little late, she started to critically think about that. Satan says, where's Jesse? And she said, oh, yeah. And then she's like, oh, Jesse's not doing anything. He's a good guy. And then Satan said, oh, yeah? He didn't call you, you notice? He didn't call you and let you know he was going to be late. And then she goes, oh, yeah. He should call because he knows I'm here worried about him. I'm worrying. Anytime a woman tell you she's worried about you, you better move out. And go hide your money because the divorce is coming. But she said, why you didn't call? I'm worried about you, right? He got her because she's critically thinking about it. She fell for the lie, the first lie, just like that. Rather than rejecting it, bringing it into captivity and waiting and see. And so by the time I get home, she's so mad and angry. She's like, where you been? I'm like, oh, I just worked 10 minutes overtime. No, you didn't. Why didn't you call? Well, I didn't think I have to. I'm grown. But I've been worried about you. So worried about me wasn't going to stop anything from happening. I would still be late, or I would still be dead, or I would still be cheating, whatever I'm doing. I worry. And you cannot convince her that you're just at work a little late. Because she's already thought about it. She's fallen for the lie. And Adam fell for the lie. He disobeyed his father. And if you could stay present with God and learn not to believe the lie, when you doubt every lie, then you have faith. Adam doubted the truth and fell into the lie. Now we have to doubt the lie and come back to the truth. That's how you do it. Just doubt every thought. Doubt the lie, and you're back. It's not hard at all. Yes, James?
Is it possible that, Marie asks, is it possible that God has revealed things to you before you knowing to ignore your thoughts in your life?
Say that again?
Is it possible that God's revealed stuff to you before you knew to ignore thoughts? Before you knew you were supposed to ignore
Maybe. I don't know. You're saying yes, Mark? But if God reveals things to you, He's going to allow you to see it. You're going to see it. God is not just going to reveal something to you and you're not going to see it. You know, He doesn't play around like that. So if He reveals it to you, then you see it. Reveal means the ability to see it. You can now see it. So I don't think He can reveal things to you and you not know He revealed it to you.
That's not what she's asking.
But what is she asking?
She's
How would you
asking-
answer that?
How would I answer it?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's asking if the truth is revealed to her, then she can ignore the lies.
No, it sounds like she's asking, could the truth be revealed to you and you not know it?
No.
Oh, what is she asking?
She's asking if God reveals things to you and that other times you're still thinking in your thoughts.
Oh, like do you have moments where you can see He's revealing things?
Yeah.
Yes. You have those glimpses along the way. You do. But then Satan is right there to steal it right back from you and say, okay, here, forget about that. Here's the right way. And you go for that because you're accustomed to going that way. That's why it's good to be still and know the Father.
She's asking if, in terms of critical thinking, what if you're married to someone with a lot of anger that affects you and your children? Should you wonder if to stay with that person?
No.
Okay. Next question.
And the reason you don't wonder because if you're praying, if you're one with the Father, you will see what to do. In all things, see what to do. And then you're not making mistakes because if she wonder if I should move or not, then Satan's going to tell her, yes, leave your family. And then once you leave your family, he's going to say, look what you've done. Now you're feeling guilty for leaving your family. So you don't want to do that. You just want a clear path. You want to be able to see. And if you don't see what to do, do nothing. Do nothing. I'm telling you. Wait upon the Lord. Yes, sir.
Did I already ask, how do you let the ego die?
Are you asking me that? Did you already ask?
Yeah, did I already ask?
Are you asking me, did you already ask that question? Oh. No.
Okay.
No, you didn't.
Okay, how do you let the ego die?
Anybody here is allowing your ego to die? Oh, a lot of them. Hallelujah. Okay. John want to tell her. Way over in the corner. He said, oh my God. Are you allowing your ego to die, John? This is such a good question now that I think about it. It is such a good question.
Yes. Well, first of all, you have to get up every morning and be still, to know God, and you have to forgive.
Oh, what a big help that is. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Mark.
You have to know that you had an ego, number one, and that it was controlling you, and that you're wrong. And once you see that you had an ego, and that you're wrong for having it, you no longer have it.
Okay. Yeah.
But what if you're not wrong? Not saying this is me, but just
Uh-huh.
someone else. What if
Sure.
you're? Some people are genuinely awesome people and should
Awesome.
have big egos. And so, what if they're not wrong? They just are recognizing the reality of their awesomeness.
I disagree.
They're
Fundamentally
recognizing
disagree.
People are great.
Fundamentally disagree. Ego is not good. It's never good. It's like thinking. It's not good. It's not even if you call it critical thinking,
Oh no, I
super
mean,
thinking.
I'm saying
it's bad.
some people might
Ego
be
is bad.
justified. I'm saying some of it might be justified. It's not like they're crazy. They, it's justified because they are a great person. Like
Give me an
like
example.
Dr. Laura. Like she's
She's an awesome woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
She
Ann
is
Coulter.
awesome.
I would hope she has a big ego.
Who?
Ann Coulter.
I don't know if she would tell you she does. I think she would tell you she's a daughter of God.
Someone like her,
Right.
if they did have a big ego, it would be justified.
Oh, okay. I understand what he's saying. It's all funny, but I totally understand it, what he's saying. Now, the thing is, if you want to hold on to your ego and believe that you are God, then that's fine. God doesn't care. He'll let you have it. He'll let you think that you're awesome. And he'll let you just do it because he has already made a way for us to overcome it. And he only wants those who want to overcome it. He's not going to be bothered by those who doesn't want to overcome it. And he'll let you think that you're an awesome person, right? But because he's only seeking those who want to return to him. The question is, how do you let the ego die? And that's such a good question. Are you able to answer that? Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to hear this.
Becoming a little child.
And how do you do that now?
You just realize that realize that everything you've learned, and just like we've been talking about, thinking, critical thinking, any kind of thinking is really of the devil. So we were not created to be thinking.
Okay.
That
and,
became.
And one more person want to add to that, then I'll respond, and we got to move on because of time. Yes, Doug. How do you let the ego die?
Wow.
That's such a good question.
I think by not going with your anger, realizing that you're wrong to have anger or an ego or feeling better than others or whatever that is.
Lord have mercy. No, I'm kidding. I'm just playing. That was nice. Let me ask Kent. Kent, I saw Mel Gibson today. I saw a documentary on Mel Gibson, and it reminded me of you so much. Mel Gibson, there was a time when he was yelling at his girlfriend. He had already yelled at his wife, but he was yelling at his girlfriend. And he was like, you better do this. I'm gonna. And he was like, really good. And I thought of Kent. That's how Kent talk. He looked like Mel Gibson anyway. And I'm thinking, wow, that sounds just like Kent. He better hope some woman don't record him. But anyway, how you allow your ego to die?
How do you do that? Yeah, you have to be aware that you're of the world, and you have to see and let go of your attachments to the world, and not seek the comfort of the world in order for your ego to die. And that means being still, being quiet, and being aware of how you're using the world to, get your emotions going, and be very conscious in the moment.
No, I'm just playing around. Here's how you basically what everybody said is true. All that is a part of it. I'm messing around here. But what you have to do to get to know yourself, self-knowledge, meaning be aware of yourself. And when you see all those little dark secrets you have, all those little temptations you like doing, all the little dirty things you kind of love or hate, you have to watch those things and have no opinion about them at all. Don't hate them, don't love them. Just watch it. Because all those things that you've gotten into come from your ego, your pride. As a result of falling away from God, you got into all these little dirty, nasty things in life, whatever they might be. And so when you can watch yourself, now that you want to die, when you can watch that and just look at it, observe it without an opinion, it shall surely die. Because it's the light of God just shining on it within, right? And he will destroy that ego and you will be free from it. But if you run away from the dirty things that you have hidden inside of you, or you take them personally, or you judge yourself, or have an opinion about it, meaning that, oh, this is good or this is bad, if you have any communication with it at all, you're not going to overcome it. Because you are making a judgment about it. And we are not in a position to make a judgment about anything. We discern things. We see things without an opinion. And you would see right from wrong, and you may do the right thing. But that's how you let the ego die. And the ego is going to want you to have an opinion about it. It's going to want you to see that you are a dirty person. You like messing around or whatever. Everybody got the little things, you like to do when ain't nobody looking, right? Well, those things you got to be aware of and just watch them, and God is with you. He's allowing you to see them, and you can overcome them. But don't insert anything you think about them. Don't put your will into it, because of ourselves we can do nothing, and of ourselves we know nothing. It's a spiritual battle, and we have the spirit within us to fight evil. But you got to let go. And we forgot about this. We have not been taught there's nothing we can do. We have been taught we can do something about it, and we can't. Everybody who is trying to overcome this is getting nowhere. They have moments of feeling good, and that's about it, but they're not being made whole. They're not free. You got to let go completely. And when you let go, you're going to notice that the deceiver is trying to make you have an opinion about it. Oh, look how awful you are. You thought you were a good person. You thought you were awesome. You thought this. You're not awesome, and now you're judging that. He doesn't want you to doubt him at all. But you got to doubt him if you want to be free. Then you can deal with the world around you like magic. You really can. Because you can overcome the world, because now you're being guided by a different source. You're in it, but not of it. But you have to give up everything you know. You have to become an idiot. You have to, and the last thing human beings want to know is that they are idiots. Everyone wants to think that they're smart, and you're not. All of your influences are coming from anger or peace. If you have anger, you are being influenced by the deceiver. If you have perfect peace, you're being influenced by God or his folks. It's just the way it is. And the more you get to know yourself, the more you will recognize that. And then you drop all this mess and start having a life. You will have a life. You become a son or daughter of God. You know, I was talking to one of the bond guys by way of telephone, and we were talking about our relationship with God now, and I was telling him that I don't see God as God anymore. You know, I don't see him. I see him. He is my Father. And I didn't know you could see him that way. It's like he's my Father. But before I realized he was my Father, I saw him as God. And I got to be a certain way with God. And I could never please him, you know, because I'm judging myself when I see him as God. But now that I see him as the Father, it's like I'm in a relationship with my Father, you know, and I know he loved me, and I know that, you know, he's taking care of me, and I don't have to worry, and I don't have to put on a front. I have a Father. It reminds me of Jesus, when Jesus said, do not, you know how when Jesus was laying hands on the foes and healing them, and he would raise the dead, and everybody would go, wow, you are God. You are something else. And he was like, no, don't worship me. It's not me. It's the Father that's in me. You can do the same thing, and greater work can you do. No. He's like, no, don't put me on a pedestal. It's not me. And then the people put him on a pedestal anyway and made him God. It's the same thing they do with their leaders of this world. Whether it's a preacher, a politician, an entertainer, they would put the preacher like, no, don't put me on a pedestal. I'm just a human being. I'm fellowshipping with you. The Father that's in me will guide you. And instead, the people put the preacher on the pedestal. They don't see him as just a brother pointing the right way. Christ is our brother, and at some point we should become like him because God is our Father. And he came and made that way, that he's our brother. Don't worship him. Love him, appreciate him, but don't worship him. He doesn't want you to do that because it's the Father that's in him. And he's in you. He's in all of us. So just think about that and doubt every thought. You got to let him go. You got to forgive. If you have any iota, who have angers in this room? Everybody? Everybody has anger. Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. You in the green sweater, you have anger?
Yeah.
And why?
I don't know, a lot of things.
Like what, for example?
I mean, just a lot of, like, things to realize, especially the last few months, like, oh, I guess all these problems do come from anger.
Yeah.
And then once you realize that, it's like, okay, I'd like to get rid of that now.
That's right. That's right. And you're making a good point. Once you realize that it's coming from anger, that helps you to see you need to overcome the anger.
Mm-hmm.
And who are you angry at?
I guess I would be angry with my dad.
You say you are, or you wouldn't?
I mean, I am, I guess.
Yeah. and you're not sure?
Well, I mean, I don't know what to do with it other than, okay, accept it, realize it, and then just try to overcome it, because it's hard to not want to confront it and make an even bigger issue out of it.
And so you're angry at your father. Does he know you're angry at him?
I think so.
And why do you think so?
Because we did have a conversation where it was kind of all out on the table, so I guess he knows.
But you didn't forgive him?
No.
You know. And do you want to forgive him?
I can't forgive him without wanting him to know why.
Right.
And so that's not forgiveness, really. It's still saying,
That's right. And are you
no.
afraid to tell him why you're angry at him?
no,
You're not afraid to tell him why?
no.
Well, why haven't you told him then?
It's difficult to get through to him, and I would want to do that face to face.
Oh, okay.
So.
So here's what I recommend. You don't want to get through to him, so don't try that. You want to forgive him for what he did to you. Because the only reason you're suffering, you're not suffering because of what he did to you. You're suffering because you're angry at what he did to you. So your soul is separated from God. And so have you ever done things that you wish you had not done, but you did them anyway?
Of course.
And you wouldn't want someone to be mad at you for that, right? Because you couldn't help it.
Yeah.
right? Well, your father feels the same way. Whatever he did, he didn't want to be that way, but he resent his parents or somebody, so he fell to that, and he can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
If he could treat you better, he would have. That make sense?
Yeah,
That
so
makes-
it's not my fault, but realizing that this person's not doing these things, or I wasn't able to change this person, it has nothing to do with me. It's about their own issues.
Yeah, and the only reason for forgiveness is to make you whole, so that your soul can return back to the Father. And right now your soul is separated from the Father, and Satan is your daddy because you have the nature of Satan. All people who have anger, Satan is their father. Now, there are people who are seeking the right way, so they're on their way from that. But as long as they have that anger, Satan is their father, and they have fear, they have doubt, they worry, they analyze, what's that other word? Critical thinking, and yeah. But here's what I recommend. Your father live here in town?
He's about an hour away.
Right. I want you to go to your father, and I want you to say, Father or Daddy, whatever you call him. What do you call him?
I guess Dad, or his name.
So you say Dad or your name, whatever it is. I'm sorry for holding that against you. I've been angry at you because you wasn't there for me, or you yelled at me, and I'm wrong for that. And I'm sorry for being angry about that. I needed your love as my father, and I have been holding this against you, and I'm sorry for doing that. I have no right to judge you. And in that very moment, you'll go free. Don't yell at him. Don't blame him for anything. You're not trying to hurt him. You're trying to forgive him so that you can be free. And do not ask him to forgive you. God has it set up where when you forgive others, he will forgive you. Because if you ask him to forgive you, he might not do it. And that'll keep control over you. Human beings are not nice people. And they love controlling because the ego loves to control others. So he might not, but he might try to make you feel guilty and, all that stuff. Don't fall for it. You know how sometimes you go to your mother and you say, Mother, you're just not a good person. And rather than mother saying, yeah, daughter, you're right, she would say, oh, I've done all I can for you. I can't believe you're saying this to me. I brought you in the world, and I'll take you out. And your daddy was no good. She'll point the daddy fault out, right? But that's why God has it set up where we don't have to ask people to forgive us. We forgive them, and he will forgive you, and he will take that spirit away from you, make you whole, and you will have a life. Then you can love your father, because your father has never had love. He never had it. And everybody always accused him. So he's always been judged, and because he's never had love, he's overreacted to the judgment. And so if you go to him and apologize for holding those things against him, you're showing your father love, and he needs love. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's all true.
Yeah.
That's definitely what I used to think about him, that no one loves him. At the end of the day, he's lonely or empty.
See there? And
So
I've
I
never
would
met
think,
your father, right?
I thought, I can get through to him maybe. So when that didn't work, it was kind of like, okay, I kind of realize everything now.
That's right. That's right. And God wants us to, when you do it that way, you're really thinking of him and not of yourself. And then that's another thing that helps you to go free. Because you know your father has never had love. Had he had love, he would have loved you in the right way. But he doesn't have it. He's just angry, and he doesn't know how to treat you. So you have to forgive him. Will you try that?
I'll try it.
Yeah. And if you want me to go with you? I can go with you.
I don't know how that would go.
Well, if you need my help, let me know.
Okay.
All right? But I'm telling you, that will free you up. And to everybody who have anger, if you want to be free, you got to drop the anger. You got to forgive so God can forgive you and allow you to enter into the kingdom of heaven within, and you can be free. Everything will open up to you after that point. So give it. Your life is worth it. All right? You deserve to have a full, good life. But as long as you have that anger, you're not going to have it. And then you're going to get it. Are you married? You're going to
No.
get involved with guys looking for a father's love, and they're going to take advantage of you. They're going to use you. You'll become mama to them. They'll take advantage because the guys are looking for love too, and they'll make you mama. And then you hate them because now you're mama, because the guys can't function. So forgive your father. He loved you. He could not help it. And so don't accuse him. Forgive him.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
All right. Will you let me know how it goes?
Yeah. I'll let you know.
And I'll tell you this, it's the hardest step that you're ever going to have to take in life. Because once you forgive him, you're going to feel the fear of it because Satan is going to be playing on your mind. But once you forgive him, all fear will be gone forever. It's the hardest thing you have to do. And the only reason it's so hard with him or your mother is because you resent him. And whomever you resent control you. You become like them. They control you. But once you forgive, they cannot control you. Nobody or nothing can control you. All right? Okay. And if you're afraid, let me know and I'll come and go with you. And I won't charge you for gas. You have to pay for gas. So here's what I wanted to talk about. We're out of time completely. And so I want you to think about this. Remember when the disciples or somebody told Jesus that Caesar wanted to make them pay taxes or something like that? Yes. Caesar wanted us to pay taxes. What should we do? You remember that? Yes. And God said, give to Caesar what is his, and give to me what is mine, and whatever. Next week, I want to know what did he mean by that? It's going to blow your mind. How many people think they already know what he meant by that?
Is that when he said the poor will always be around? I won't.
Well, no, not that at that time. Yeah, kind of awesome though. But no, that's not the time. It's about paying the taxes, giving to God what is his, blah, blah, blah. All right? So next Sunday, I had wanted to get into that today, but it went a different direction. I'm okay with that. But next Sunday, that's what I want to deal with. Unless something else come up. All right? Thank you so much for tuning in, folks, and I do appreciate it. We have our Fatherhood and Men's Conference coming up on the 17th of June. We're looking for sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor someone, some boy or man that is for 13 and up. If you want to sponsor someone, go to the website or call and let us know. What else? It's for all men 13 and up. It starts at 5 p.m. The information is on the website, rebuildingtheman.com. We need your tithes and offerings as well. It takes money to do this. And get a copy of The Antidote. The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. The best book next to the Bible on earth. All right? It's a must read. I highly recommend that you read it. Any other announcements?
Father's Day.
Father's Day? The men's conference, right? Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah, and we need your support. We provide counseling by phone or in person. We Skype now and all that good stuff. Check out the radio show, Monday through Friday. Whole lot of stuff, the fallen state and all that. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you all for coming. I do appreciate it.